Hi, I'm Alexander Payne, and I'm here speaking with Eva Nathena on the occasion of her film, her wonderful film, Fόνισσα, being selected as Greece's entry to the Oscars this year. And hello, Eva. Thank you for participating.
Thank you. What do you mean? Thank you for participating.
So listen, it's you had a big background in theater, but this is your first feature film. Yet, even though it's your first feature film, you collaborated with some real heavyweights. First, the novel on which it's based, Fόνισσα, Murderess, is a very acclaimed, legendary, milestone Greek novel. And secondly, you chose as your leading actress, and she chose you, the great Garafilia Garabetti, who, and I think this is important for the non-Greek audience to know, is you may not have heard of this film before or this filmmaker, but in Greece, she's really working with some heavyweights here. So I want to ask you first, tell me about your love affair, let's say, with this novel. What is it about this? Had you read it since you were a child? Had the idea of its power been growing inside of you until finally, how did you come to adapt this novel? Why did you choose it? And also, what did you think it has to say to the contemporary audience?
Yes. Well, the first time I came across with this novel was at the age of 16 at school. And I felt a strange attraction to this main character, Hadula, to this heroine of Papadiamandis, and I got frightened and I took a distance because I thought, do I have in common with a woman that kills babies? And I didn't speak to anyone for this because I felt like something like a criminal mind or something. But then I had this confession of my mother's trauma, the what we say intergenerational trauma. It was ages later that I understood that that was the meaning of this confession. That was the impression I took, and that made me return to this novel. So I read it again as an adult, and I went deeper, and I had this. I focused on this excellent language of Papadiamandis, the speaking language and the scholarly discourse of him. And I started working and studying everything psychiatric, historical, or sociological data or source I could find, because I felt a strange attraction, but this time a different attraction. It was like it was reading me. I was not reading it. So let's say that I experienced a revelation all these years. This novel was giving me for years an insight of my mother's intergenerational trauma, and of course of my trauma. I didn't know that age when I was 20 or 21 or something, but I was carrying her trauma. And this is what science says today. And it made me realize that we are so conditioned by our upbringing. We are so our parents' continuation, and this is the core idea that I created in my mind. I mean, this is the point that I feel that we are still preoccupied with. It provides, because this provides an answer to most of our problems today. And let's say that I understood this from this novel, and I felt an obligation to explain it to me, of course, and then through the movie to the audience.
So I don't want to reduce your theme or your attraction to the book. I don't want to reduce it into something you can say easily, but the idea of intergenerational trauma being passed and continuing to be passed from generation to generation, where indeed even victims become perpetrators, who then victimize, who in turn become perpetrators, like zombies and like vampires. So
Yes.
that is perhaps one universal kernel, one universal core that you found in this material. Why did you choose to make a movie and given your background in theater and maybe not a play, how did you come then to say, I need to make this as a movie?
Because I studied music in my when I was a teenager. I studied. I wanted to be I studied opera singing and music, and then my studies were at the School of Fine Arts, painting, and I always used this two different kinds of art. Um, Going deeper to everything that I was working, and of course theater. But I felt from the very first time that I ever read it that it was so powerful and so I could see these escapes, these landscapes. And you know something, the first time I tried to go deeper, I was trying to realize what this scholarly discourse of Papadiamandis says. And I remember myself in my apartment when I was a student to speak out loud this language. This is very difficult. It's like Shakespeare's,
Huh.
native English. It's like something like that. It's a combination of ancient Greek language and a language of him. And
So
I
it's
was
stylized, highly stylized language.
and I was trying to realize what he says and what he means. And I realized that he has put something like soundscapes in this language. And I
So say that again, someone.
soundscapes. And
Thank you.
I remember my artist, my artistic self writing down these soundscapes in a strange partiture. And then I made an experiment. I transferred these soundscapes to landscapes. And I realized that was a storyboard. So that was the idea. The first storyboard came through this process, and,
Uh-huh.
and it was like trying to make a storyboard of something, and that was of course a movie. So I created a file in my laptop in 2009, and I named it movie, just this, and I started working, going deeper and deeper. And then I met you some years ago, and I mentioned, you remember? And
I,
yes, but I was always, I had this hope that a great director could come and see my work as a production designer, as someone that is trying to translate the things that this novel says and the impact it has to me, and to take all this information and creates an excellent movie. I didn't, of course, know that it was me to do that. It was actually, it was our producer's decision. He took the risk to ask me to do this, and I took the risk, of course, to accept this invitation. And here we are. I mean, I was a designer of the movie, but I was the director also. And that was a huge, I don't know, a project of me, but let's say that it was, of course, maybe it was meant to be. It was,
well, I mean, but that's what gives a film like yours power.
yeah.
It is that, I mean, and we often make the distinction that there are filmmakers who have the urgency to make a film, but then the better films usually come from the urgency of that filmmakers have to make this film. They
Mm,
they feel it very deeply and they have to express and explore. Sometimes we even have to make a film to figure out why we wanted to make it.
mm,
People ask me, well, what's the theme of the script you're writing? I'm like, I don't know, man. I have to make the film first to see what its themes are.
yeah.
But my point is just that you had a great urgency to tell this story and that you found film was the best vehicle for that. And you knew a lot about film at that point. You had many film friends, you had exposure to the film world. And how did you then find a screenwriter? And whom did you choose to write the screenplay? And what was that collaboration like? Because that's very important. That's in a way your co-author of the film.
Actually, we are during this difficult period of our life, the COVID period, and we were spending these days of quarantine and isolation to Epidaurus, our country home, and Karyofilia Karabeti was also there, trying to do the best of herself, because
Let
it
me
was.
remind our listeners that's the actress, the lead actress she just
Yes,
met.
the lead actress. Yes, of course. And I
Okay.
was, I was mentioning, describing this story that I met you in 2013, and I told you about this dream of seeing this novel being a movie. And there was a director in our company. It was my name day, 25 of March,
Uh-huh.
2021. And he said, I'm gonna do it. I want to do this film. And it was something between a dream starting and a fear at the same time, that if he's gonna do it, what about me? I had worked 10 whole years, very concentrated in this
Yes.
project.
Yes.
I called the first and only scriptwriter. I had the number of hers, Katerina Bay, and I asked her to start writing the script. And I said to her, I remember, please do it. I know it's difficult, but I'm here, and I have so many sources and data to give you to you that I will help you for sure. She did an excellent adaptation of the book, but then we started processing, uh, um, uh, phase of the script. I mean, we had 8 different versions in just a year, and every month she had to show us a different version and a different version. And then after 8 versions, I took it in my hands in order to insert all these uh, strange landscapes there was explaining in a way the world of this, the sense and the spirit of this writer.
Yes.
And I realized so many things. I mean, I went in a lonely place, in a monastery, in Epidaurus, and let's say that I realized the most difficult things that were hidden in this novel. It was a revelation for me when I started to put some thoughts in the script, and that was the minor things that made the difference. So
Yes.
so after
Some,
this after this process, let's say that I knew the script. It was like I had I knew it like I know my hands. And at the first reprise we had, it was like I knew everything. And
mhm.
that's what my producer saw. I knew the place of the camera. I knew everything, and of course we had a very nice collaboration with the scriptwriter. And when we are rehearsing, everything was changing again and again. And the last changes, but strong changes, were at the montage, of course, at the editing. And but she accepted all the changes, because everything that we were suggesting all together, because it was not my, after a while, it was, all's work that was speaking. It was moving us and going better and better. So
It's as though the film took on a life of its own
yes,
and
yes,
was
yes.
beginning to tell you what it wanted to be.
Yes, yes.
Now,
I adore your main characters in every movie of yours. I adore the way that you explain everything of your world. It's like I have to describe all them from the first time of my life. So it's a little bit difficult, but you know what I mean. And
yeah. So now let me ask you this question, which is, forgive me, I haven't read the novel, But if I were Papadiamantis and I saw your movie, would I think it's a faithful adaptation? Or would I say, you know, it's not exactly faithful, but I love what she's done with it, and I love how she made it personal to her? Is it a faithful adaptation, or is it a very is it an
It's a
adaptation?
combination.
It's
Yes,
like
it's a
a
combination.
dialectic, a conversation between you and the material.
You know, it's a combination. You know, you see the speaking language is totally transferred from the book to the movie. I mean, this is the exact words. We didn't change anything.
Wow.
But let's say that because Papadiamantis had all this way to explain everything through myths and ancient drama. So he wrote this symbolic novel, and he named every man Yannis. This is a common name in Greece. And he named every woman a different name, that behind this name was hidden a myth.
Huh.
So if you could discover this myth, you could see easily another novel and another novel and another, so many layers. Let's say that I tried to go as deep as I could to find out these layers, that this period that was written in 1903, it was not so easy for someone to speak out loud the truth. And the truth was very hard. You know, babies were killed, babies were murdered.
The
I mean,
truth is always hard to say. That's
course.
something
And
eternal.
you know this heroine of him, this main character, actually was the whole society that it was killing their children. The whole society did it. Not a main character,
Right.
not a person, not a heroine. It was a whole society, and he wrote this novel like a mirror, and I understood it in my flesh and blood. I understood it from the very first time. He put this mirror in front of us. That's why he named this a social novel. And he said, you see these knots? If we don't untie them, we are going to live with them. And will be very hard. So he
Yeah.
gave us information. He gave us so different information of everyone. I mean, he gave us the profile, for example, of a serial killer. What is the profile? What is the profile of a serial killer? He thinks, or she thinks, that she's doing she knows that she's doing something bad, but she thinks that she's doing it in the right person, in the right purpose. That she has to do it again and again in order to persuade herself and the others that she's doing right. So this is a profile that he was given from this man in 1903, and it was so revelating to know what a human being's soul hides deep, that it was like he gave us the keys to understand. So let's say that it was an adaptation, but it was mainly what he meant,
Yeah.
not what exactly he wrote, because he
Right.
was hiding things. The most things were hidden.
Now, question, he was writing on, or at least about, the island of Skiathos, was he not? And for many reasons, it's probably wasn't practical to shoot on the island of Skiathos. Where did you shoot it? And is it meant to take place on an island or just in some Greek village? Does the location have anything specific to do with the story, or did you keep it vague?
Yes. You know, I was born in the island of Crete in Greece, which is an island, of course, but it's a big island.
Right.
So we could view sea from the hills, from the mountains, but it was mountains mostly. And that was my familiar landscape, you know. And of course, it was the rocks that were speaking to me always. And I found this isolated village in Mani, which is in.
Let's tell our viewers at home, Mani is on the south side of the Peloponnese, which is that
Yes.
large southern, almost Sicily-looking part of Greece. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, and it was a village, a destroyed village. I mean, it was a village built it from with rocks, And we found these rocks all in the ground, because animals were living there. And there was not even a window, not even a door, and all the yards were, the rocks were down. And I went there with a stone worker and his team, 10 persons, and we rebuilt this village, and we made all this scenery, world, in order to say this story, like a host that was living for this time, and to say this story and then to die again, because I needed to describe nature and sets like human beings, like breathing characters, like made of stone, because nobody can be a human being by flesh and blood and at the same time kills the baby. It was because of poorness, but it was so cruel.
So that makes me wonder, do rocks and stone play a part in the novel? Does he describe rocks and stone there as well?
Not so much.
Okay, so
Not so,
that's a wonderful a visual contribution that you brought to the material.
yes, not so much. I mean, it was he was describing this story in his island, in the island of Skathos, which was an island full of green, and forests and um, plants. But I always had this mountain of Psiloritis in Crete, where she's really climbing. I mean, I
That's what
took
you had in mind.
Yes, I took this. Um, she's so brave. I took this brave woman named Karyofilia Karabeti that played the main character, and we climbed in 2,400 miles to climb this mountain in order to shoot this one um, uh, scene that she's going to pray in
Yes.
Saint Yanis church. And that was because I wanted to climb this mountain, like what we say in Greek, Tama. How we say this word
Like
when.
pilgrimage, like a pilgrimage.
Yes, yes, because that was the main mountain of my father's village, birthplace. It was the birthplace of him that, let's say that it was this place gave my mother's intergenerational trauma. It was not so many years before, but to give birth to a girl those ages, it was something like it's not so good. And
Yeah.
and there were some relatives that blamed her of giving birth to two girls, and I was the second. And then she considered herself that she wanted to change this, and she prayed so much to have a boy and shut all these mouths. And so she confessed me that I prayed so much, and it was like God listened to me and gave me two boys.
Right.
And I have two twin brothers, and my mother's intergenerational trauma that made me tell this story in this way. And that was a place that had this impact to me, and I had to deal with it. I had to deal with these rocks. I had to
Yes.
deal with these stones. I had to break these stones and break this trauma of my mother, and feel a strong ring in this chain of life between her and my daughter.
Now, you just mentioned Carafilia Carabetti, the lead actress. Please talk about her. And let's finish on that note, which is
Yeah,
the towering performance she gives. So give our international audience a bit of background about her as
she
as a star and artist in Greece and about her contribution to the film.
if we try to explain what she is, she's like a Meryl Streep of Greece, she can do anything in acting. She is astonishing. I mean, if you see her, if you watch her playing in Epidaurus, you cannot take your eyes from her. She's so talented and so powerful. And you know something, she believed in this project so much because she felt that we women have to tell this story. We women have to explain that the most violence that women ever took in those ages was not from men. It was from women, unfortunately. And we had to say out loud this truth. I mean, it was a truth that she felt an obligation also to be said from her. And we had this collaboration. And
So, sorry, let me stop you for a moment. Had you known her before?
yes, yes, yes.
And so had you told her for a couple of years, hey, I'm writing a script and
Yes.
you would be great. You would be great in the part, and I'll give it to you when
So
it's ready. How did you get her to do it?
in 2009, it was a very special year for me. It was the year that I started to focus in this novel, and I was collaborating with Karyophilia in a play, in a performance. And because she doesn't drive, I drove with her every night after rehearsing. We are standing out of her house, out of her home, talking hours and hours, confessing each other, making our relationship strong, our friendship strong and stronger and stronger. And one night I remember her saying from 2009, you know, when you are going to direct, because you will be a director one day, just remember me,
Right.
just tell me where we rehearse and what time, and I will come for sure. And I was laughing, of course. And I didn't believe that it was, you know, she meant it, but she meant it
Did she
because,
arrive on time to the rehearsals?
yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
all right. Good. Sign of a
And
good actress if
she
she
was
arrives on
there
time.
with all her heart and all her strength. And I'm very grateful for this. And I'm grateful for with you now that you helped me express all these things that I confessed. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, listen, it's a wonderful film. For those of you who haven't seen it, please do. And Ava, congratulations on this film and on its success. It was a huge success in Greece, and I know you've been taking it around the world and having more great success. So congratulations, and we look forward to your next one.
Thank you. The last thing I want to say, yes, it has done a great tour all over the world. I remember myself taking this award in Shanghai Festival and confessing that unfortunately this movie Murderess, is ending with numbers, and it says that 200 million women are missing from the global population because of gendercides. And of course, I was holding this award, and I felt strong enough to confess that the 40 million of those numbers, of 200 million numbers, were just from China the last 4 decades because of this law, another law. We had in Greece this law of dowry, but they had this law of one-child family, and
Yes.
and it was unspeakable that in this age, they are forced to keep the boys and not the girls. And if that is so, we are a minority. I mean, women feel a minority, even though we are more in the planet, you know, in the world. We are a minority in the expectations of society, in rights, in everything. And we have to say this. So thank you for helping me to say this message, because I
Um,
feel
my
great.
pleasure. All right. Well, thanks. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Αλέξανδρε, ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Oh, no, that was fun.
Yes.